Navigating Grief on the Path to Enlightenment. Hello everyone, I'm Lori Lines of Higher Self Access. I am a Level 3 QHHT practitioner, higher self and mindfulness coach, as well as a spiritual sounding board. Grief, a multifaceted and widespread feeling, forms a complex web interwoven within the very essence of our journey. It represents an unavoidable aspect of our lives, yet frequently remains misconstrued and seldom openly discussed. Journeying through life, we encounter the many faces of loss, the passing of loved ones, the end of relationships, the loss of a job, the death of a dream, the closing of chapters we held dear. In these moments, we face the challenge of unraveling the tangled threads of cognition, spirituality, and emotion. Grief has the power to shape us, to transform us, and ultimately to lead us to a higher state of being. There is a profound connection between grief and enlightenment, and how embracing the process of mourning can become a catalyst for our ascension. Beyond the Veil, a soul's journey. Some philosophers and poets, shamans, religious leaders, and spiritualists have devoted their lives to understanding the soul's transition upon passing. Many of these thinkers can agree that the end of this life leads to a new phase of the spiritual journey, meaning death is not an ending, but a transitional phase. As many awaken, we are coming to realize that it is the individual soul who chooses to depart into the liminality of death, a new state of being. And when we look at the passing of our loved ones from this perspective, it allows us to see their departure as a purposeful and conscious choice they have made to progress on their spiritual path. Death and its timing are a choice made by the soul in its highest form and consciousness to depart from the school of humanity to a new phase of higher learning, orchestrated according to divine timing and the soul's planning. Similarly, when people leave our lives, but not the earthly plane, this is also a matter of destiny and divine intervention. The same can be said about circumstances such as the loss of a job, the forfeiture of a dream, or the absence of an opportunity. Just as a caterpillar sheds its cocoon to become a butterfly, we too must release those people and situations that hinder our growth. Grief is a transitional state between the past and the future, allowing us to honor what was, mourn what could not be, and embrace what can be. It is a process that, while painful, is necessary for our spiritual evolution. So how can we grow through grief? Grief in its truest essence is a fertile foundation for self-realization, emotional growth, and soulful transformation. It invites us to confront our vulnerabilities and encounter the depths of our emotions. I remember undergoing a profound experience of grief several years ago, during which a wise friend who had navigated a similar journey offered me valuable counsel. She shared this insight that embracing the opportunity to shed tears could be incredibly healing. Her advice was not about forcing emotions, but rather allowing them to surface naturally whenever they needed to. And while I initially met her guidance with some doubt, the high level of trust I had in her encouraged me to put her words into practice. I discovered that I was most at ease releasing my tears when I was alone, as solitude seemed to create an environment where my emotions could flow freely. Across the span of several months, I cried a river of tears until one day I noticed a very significant shift. I realized I hadn't cried in quite some time. This realization marked a pivotal moment in my journey through grief. And although occasional pangs of sorrow still touched me, the profound intensity of my experience had gradually faded away, allowing me the freedom to move on by learning through my grief and growing into the person I am today. When we avoid grief, we deny ourselves the opportunity for release, for introspection and self-discovery and self-actualization. The pain and the sorrow that we experience are not merely obstacles to be overcome or burdens to repress. They are the fruitful soil that cultivates spiritual expansion from the seeds of suffering. By genuinely and fully grieving, we can honor what was lost, what was gained, and what was learned, celebrating the meaningfulness of the pleasure we once felt, the pain we are feeling, and the process that we must undergo. In allowing ourselves to feel the full spectrum of our emotions, we engage in a sacred act of self-realization, self-discovery, and self-actualization. By embracing grief, we find the courage to confront our shadow aspects and emerge into a light of self-awareness and spiritual transformation. The grand canvas of reality. Much like grief, ascension, and awakening are not destinations. They are soulful journeys and certainly not linear processes. To pass through grief and reach these elevated states of consciousness, we must navigate the cycles of life, the waves of emotion, and mental obstacles. Grief is a landmark with a sprawling view of the landscape of the human experience and a summit from which you can catch a glimpse of the expansiveness of higher consciousness. Being fully present as your authentic self in the mourning process means transcending the boundary between the human experience and the dimensions of enlightenment. From the vantage point of grief, you can better understand the earthly plane and the realm of higher consciousness and gain a clearer vision of the path that unifies them. To heal is to open yourself to the teachings that grief provides. And as you become aware of your pain, you uncover your soul. Ascension is not about forsaking your past, but integrating your soul's journey with your human experience into the continuum of existence. Each thread represents a lesson learned, a memory cherished, a love treasured, and a wound healed. Rebirth from darkness. Grief is a profound act of self-care and self-discovery and self-actualization, as I said, and recognizing that it is not a detour from the path to enlightenment, but an integral part of it. It'll give you the strength to endure the painful nature of the journey, just like a mother going through labor. When approached with intention and reverence, grief is like a birth that requires you to surrender to the rhythm of your emotional body and the waves of emotional pains with patience and acceptance. During this process, both your humanity and your spirituality are born again, renewed. There is pain, but there is also joy as we are reborn from the darkness of grief. My final thoughts are: grief, an intricate thread woven into the fabric of human experience, is often misunderstood and overlooked, but is an essential stitch linking the human experience with the soul's journey. And as we integrate life's losses with joys, we untangle the threads of limiting beliefs, emotional blockages, and spiritual tethers. Weaving mourning into the fabric of our lives incorporates the lessons of pleasure, pain, loss, and actualization into our experience. And with every thread of grief, we knit a ladder, allowing us to climb out of the darkness, renewed, ascending to the light. If you find value in my videos, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. That way the algorithms will make their way available to a wider audience. I thank you for listening, and I'll be putting out more videos soon. And I wish you love and truth. I am Lori Lines.